Welcome back. A top UN official says 22,000 people have been displaced after a week of violence between Buddhists and Muslims in Myanmar's western province of Rakhine. Smoking tree stumps and ashes are all that's left of the Muslim township of Pauk Tor after clashes that killed at least 67 people. More than 3,000 homes were razed to the ground. The latest figures push the total number of Muslim refugees to 100,000 since the violence broke out in June in the ethnically mixed state. Myanmar's estimated 800,000 Rohingya Muslims are officially stateless and regarded by the government as illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. Bangladesh does not recognize them either, and the United Nations has referred to them as virtually friendless.
And back locally, demonstrators stormed the MTR racewalk today to protest against this year's hike in train fares. This comes as the government is consulting the public on how to improve the railway company's price adjustment mechanism. Temli Teme has the story.
Protesters making a grand entrance at the MTR racewalk today, disrupting the event for a few moments. We're in a race of sorts too, legislator Leung Kwok Hong says. Other demonstrators expressed their discontent in the spirit of Halloween. They are all unhappy about the 5.4% MTR fare increase that came into effect back in June. This after the MTR Corporation made a profit of $14.7 billion last year. The fare adjustment mechanism is based on a formula that takes into account changes in the consumer price index, transport wages and productivity. And based on this formula, fares have gone up for 3 consecutive years. The government says it is not taking the matter lightly.
Over the last few months, whether in electrical or in the community, there have been various views. There have been various suggestions as to how the mechanism can reflect the MTRC's performance, service performance. Some suggested that the affordability of the public should also be taken into account.
But what does the MTR Corporation have to say?
We're looking at how to refine it, but there are certain principles to this direct drive mechanism that must be maintained. One, it needs to be easily understood. 2, it has to be transparent, easily understood to everyone. And of course, what's most important is that it needs to be considered to be by and large fair, especially by the traveling public, which means 5 million people a day in Hong Kong.
The fare adjustment mechanism will be jointly reviewed by the government and the MTR Corporation, and the public consultation period has been extended until mid-November. Temli Tianmei, TVB News.
Opponents of a plan to build an artificial beach in Lung Mei near Tai Po are threatening to launch a judicial review in a bid to derail the project. But the government has shown no signs of backing down, as Jessica Gable reports.
Green groups, residents of Tai Po, and district councillors trashed the government's plan to build an artificial beach at Lung Mei. Up until now, critics have been trying to educate the public about what they say are the flaws with the beach plan. Things like the high content of heavy metals like copper and zinc from Lung Mei's days as an industrial dumping site. Activists have threatened legal action in a bid to stop the project.
There are no concrete plans for judicial review right now, but in the coming weeks, the Loose Alliance present at today's press conference hopes to make those plans more concrete. And if not, they hope to take their message to the streets.
Critics say the government's report on the environmental impact of the beach is flawed.
That they irrationally excluded a very small section of the Tolo Channel's coastline, which is the beaches of Wukasai and Toh Tao. They've been excluded from that report. The report doesn't mention them, and it ignores it. It doesn't even tell people that they have excluded them, despite the fact that they're checking the whole Tolo Harbor.
But that's not the only thing Zimmerman and other district councillors say is missing. They say the development of the beach will affect a number of species, and the extent to which it does is not covered in the report. Tomorrow, Zimmerman and the others will present what they say are discrepancies in the report to the Environmental Protection Department. Secretary for Environment Wong Kam Sing said the government is very concerned about the wildlife and ecosystem around Lung Mei. Activists, locals, and Environment Bureau officials will meet on Tuesday to talk about what should happen to the marshes at Lung Mei at a Tai Po District Council meeting. Jessica Gable, TVB News.
As the number of people suffering from allergies rises in Hong Kong, a cure is finally on hand. Emily Chan reports on this new form of treatment.
Pierre was seriously allergic to peanuts until he underwent for 9 months a treatment known as sublingual immunotherapy, imported from the United States. It actually uses peanut extracts.
Basically, you just drop the number of drops you need under the tongue. You just keep it there for 2 minutes.
Putting the solution under the tongue allows the peanut to be absorbed through the mucous membrane in the mouth and go directly into the gastrointestinal tract with its specialized lymphocytes.
The main job, in fact, is to induce tolerance so that we can develop tolerance to the peanut.
Starting with minute quantities, the peanut extract dosage is doubled every 2 weeks.
But if they can tolerate at least 1 peanut kernel, then it's very unlikely that they will react to trace amounts of peanuts in other kinds of food.
I'm very happy, yes, that now he can eat peanuts.
The treatment usually lasts about a year and costs about 18,000 Hong Kong dollars. Hong Kong patients have also successfully undergone immunotherapies for allergies of dust mites and one's own sweat. Emily Chan, TVB News.
And the full story will be aired on the Per Report on Monday at 8 p.m. And tired of the crowded city, many people are venturing out during holidays to visit some idyllic places in Hong Kong where old traditions are preserved. But some of these places, like the Tai O fishing village, can't quite handle the sheer number of people flocking there. Want to adventure out of the city on the weekend? You might have heard the fishing village in Tai O is a fun place to visit, but beware, it could take a while to get there. This man said he's had to wait up to 3 hours for a bus. This boy's family didn't want to be stuck there after dinner, so they left earlier. While it might be a one-off wait for visitors, residents are getting frustrated at the overflooding of tourists. It once took this resident more than 2 hours to get a bus to take her feverish daughter to a doctor, since there's no clinic or public hospital open during holidays in Tai O. Lawmaker Leung Yu-chung is urging bus companies to upgrade the service to the area. He says locals want a residence pass that would give them priority over tourists on public transport. Many Tai O bus routes also charge about 70% more during holidays. Residents are complaining that it's unfair and hope the bus companies will spare them the extra cost. And Chris, I heard it was a fun sunny day out at the Cricket Sixes.
It was all bats and balls over there, all bats and balls. South Africa defeated Pakistan by 37 runs to win the Hong Kong Cricket Sixes at the Kowloon Cricket Club. South Africa batted first and got off to a fast start. They set a target of 142 from their 5 overs. Robert Frillink and Colin Ingram each had 5 sixes. Ingram was 34 not out. The team slammed a total of 17 over the boundary line. Defending Cup champions Pakistan came up short with 105 runs, despite a half-century from Kamran Akmal. Earlier, Hong Kong lost to Pakistan by 2 runs. Hong Kong's Tanvir Afzal smashed 6 sixes. The hosts finished with 3 wins and 3 losses. Well, to that other sport with a bat and a ball, the San Francisco Giants moved to within 1 win of their 2nd World Series championship in 3 years. The Giants, with more great pitching in Game 3, Ryan Vogelsong, Tim Lincecum and Sergio Romo combined to blank the Detroit Tigers. San Francisco became the first team to throw consecutive shutouts in the Fall Classic in nearly 50 years. The final score was 2-0. The Giants with a 3-0 series lead in the best of 7. The club has come back to win the World Series after losing the first 3 games.
That ends it. Giants take it.
And Lionel Messi and Barcelona continue to roll in the La Liga. The Catalans stayed unbeaten in the league with a 5-0 win at Rayo Vallecano. Jameson Wong has the highlights.
Messi scored 2, so what else is new? Barcelona thrashed Rayo Vallecano 5-0 in the Spanish capital. His first of the game gave the 25-year-old Argentinian 300 goals for his career, club and country. Barca 3 points ahead of Atletico Madrid and 11 in front of arch rivals Real Madrid. Both of those teams play tonight. To Germany, and check this out. Luckily, the ball was pink, I think. These days, nothing stopping Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund over Freiburg 4-1 in freezing conditions. Tennis, and Maria Sharapova will play Serena Williams in the final of the WTA Championships in Istanbul. Sharapova defeated Victoria Azarenka of Belarus 4-2 in one semifinal. However, Azarenka clinched the year-end #1 ranking by reaching the last four. 2-hour highlight of the night, and with world #1 Lee Chong-wei skipping the French Open. He's getting married soon. The spotlight belonged to fellow Malaysian Darren Liu. That's confidence. Grab your bag and go. Liu advanced to the final, beating Dane Jan O. Jorgensen in 3 games. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
And finally for tonight, Rio de Janeiro is commemorating the 100th birthday of the iconic cable car that runs to the top of Sugarloaf Mountain, one of Brazil's most visited landmarks. An estimated 40 million people have taken the cable car ride since its first 2-stage trip up Sugarloaf took place on October 27, 1912. The 395-metre-high peak overlooks the bay and faces the world-famous Christ the Redeemer statue. The original wooden cars were similar to the tramways that roamed the city at the beginning of the 20th century. 2 cables connect the ground station to the peak, and each are about 1,000 metres long. That looks pretty exciting. I'd like a ride on that.
I've been on the Singapore one. It's pretty high up.
All right, well, that was the news for tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.